All right, welcome to Classclowns, Miss McDonald.
Thank you.
All right. Right now we have Miss Connie McDonald. You always be Miss Cooper to me because I've known her for quite a long time. I think you're one of the first people I got to know when I moved to Baltimore.
Yeah, probably.
Right. Miss McDonald is the director of the Upward Bound program here at Morgan State University, which services what schools are in the network here for you?
Basically, Baltimore City at this point.
Oh yeah, and most of Baltimore City.
Few Upward Bounds still in the city. So.
And that's an issue. Okay, so Upward Bound seems to be shrinking. I remember when I got here, it was like 6 programs in the city between Coppin, BCCC, Morgan State. Coppin met at Towson. What else? CCBC.
They were at Towson.
Was it University? Was it not Kingsville? Maryland, Baltimore County.
Yeah.
What else was there?
Let's see. You said BCCC.
I said BCCC, CCBC.
The Dundalk.
Dundalk. I didn't say Dundalk.
They're still around. But
yeah.
those are county. They don't really deal with the city schools.
Right.
So there's only UMBC and Morgan that deal with city schools. So there's only 2 of us left.
Right.
And BCCC has a specific math science, so they kind of specialize now.
So could you, just for the listeners, for those who are unfamiliar with Upward Bound, what are y'all all about?
What are we all about?
Yeah.
We're trying to help these young people starting in the 9th grade to get them ready for college. We provide them with a year-round program of academic enrichment. We take the gamut, helping them with all kinds of academic classes, from English, math, science, social studies, foreign language, SAT prep, college visits, cultural enrichment, just getting them ready for the experience of going on to enter college and then to complete their college degree. And
like I said, in full disclosure, I am a former Upward Bound student. So I do have bias here. I think the Upward Bound and other federal TRIO programs are vital. They're vital to our nation.
Exactly.
Really.
And that's why we serve the entire city.
Exactly.
Because we feel that it's a need for not just certain students, but any student whose family find out about our program, that we take them in and help them.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it is a national program, so if you're in a city, just Google Upward Bound in your city, and I guarantee you'll find something that will help you and your family.
Over 900 programs across the country.
Amazing. 900 underfunded programs.
Exactly.
Let's try.
Exactly.
All right. Well, the whole purpose of one of my goals is definitely to draw attention to the good work that you do.
Yeah, it is definitely good work. It's a
and
great program.
Yes.
I'm biased. I've worked with it for a long time, but
how long have you been with the?
This is my 35th year.
35th.
35th,
okay.
Yeah, 35th
all right.
year.
I'm older than that.
You're one of the first.
Jeez Louise. 35 years at Upward Bound.
And the programs have been around for 50, so there's a little gap. Not much, but a little bit.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. So, Miss McDonald, I guess what we always start with is talking about you and your educational background.
Okay.
Where are you from, and what elementary school did you attend?
I'm from the Eastern Shore, Cambridge, Maryland, which is we're in Baltimore right now, so it's about 80-some miles to the Eastern Shore. I grew up in a little small community called Taylor's Island, which is, if you know the Eastern Shore is a peninsula.
Okay.
So it's pretty much surrounded by water. So where my family grew up, Taylor's Island was where the elementary school was. And it was a one-room school.
Like Little House on the Prairie?
Like in the history book. One teacher teaching 6 classes.
Wow.
So it was a different experience. That's why I said my experience was a little bit different, because I actually did go to a one-room school.
So it would be
Ms.
like
Hudson
7th grade and
teacher.
1st grade and everybody just on the room.
1st grade through the 6th grade.
That's something.
And what was good about going to a one-room school is that if you could do the work of another class, they would let you.
So you could move up.
So you could move up.
Yeah.
And I was pretty good in math, so I could do like third grade math when I was in like first, second grade.
So you up there balling.
Yeah.
Doing
So when my mother transferred me to school in Cambridge, St. Clair Elementary, we were starting this new topic, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. So it was like pretty cool because I was a new kid in the class, but I could do like triple digit math figures because I one room school.
Right. You watched them do it.
You watch it and you could do it because I was good in math. So that was my early years. From I think first through third grade, I went to the one room school.
And what was the name of the school? It didn't have a name.
It didn't have a name. I don't.
No, I'm lying. It had a name.
I don't.
Y'all didn't just say the school.
Name of the school.
We just went to the school. It's the only one here. It's the school.
I guess Taylor's Island Elementary. I don't really know what it was. I can't remember. I would have to ask my mother that because that's a really good question. I don't remember the name of that elementary school.
Who thinks about that stuff?
But after I left that school, I went to St. Clair Elementary, so I do remember my other elementary school,
right?
St. Clair. That was in Cambridge, so I went there from fourth grade.
This is all Eastern Shore, Maryland?
Yeah, this was still in Cambridge because I grew up in Cambridge, and I stayed there till I went away to college. So I graduated from, well, the Eastern Shore was segregated back then. You know, there's black schools and white schools.
And what years did this take place?
Elementary school, I was in the 60s, the mid 60s.
Oh, wow. Very interesting time
Yeah.
to be in school.
The schools were segregated, so the black elementary school was St. Clair Elementary, and all the black kids from the entire Dorchester County went to the black school, and they bused us from all over the county. Because the county's fairly large. It's probably about 20 miles from point to point. So kids were on school buses for a while to come to this one elementary school.
Where I'm from, King William, we did that too. We ride for like an hour and a half on the way back sometimes.
So in 1969-70 school year, that's when all of the schools in Dorchester County were integrated. So my senior year in high school. So our senior year was the integrated school system. So our senior year, black kids and the white kids kind of came together. So the class of 70 is the first mixed graduating class in Dorchester County.
And what was that like?
It was an interesting senior year. Pretty welcoming considering how Dorchester County can be.
Everybody they were like, oh, well, we're doing this now.
Yeah, we're doing it. The schools opened up, and they invited us all to come and visit the school and learn the school prior to school opening. So try to get to know each other. But it was an interesting year.
So how did that work? Were y'all like... did everyone just go to the white school? To the white school, exactly.
And what happened to the... Which is, the black school was the newer school, but instead of putting everybody in the black community, they put everybody in the white community, which was the older school.
Right, but it made everybody a little more comfortable with the idea.
The white people more comfortable because they weren't... Which was not that... Because the black school was actually in a good neighborhood. I mean, it was. But it was a black good neighborhood. The more wealthy black people in Cambridge lived on the street where the high school actually was. So, like the doctors and the teachers all lived on this particular street where the school was located.
Wow. So, like the students, how do y'all take it? Like I can only imagine, we have issues just sending kids from the east side to the west side.
I know. Actually, it went well. We had no problems, no racial tension. It was an amazing, now that I sit back and think about it for the first time, it was an amazing year because there was no tension. In fact, it seems like our yearbook was titled The Age of Aquarius. So that was our theme of our yearbook.
I don't know what the Age of Aquarius is. What does that mean?
Peace and love.
Like that hippie stuff.
Yeah, like the song.
The age, all right, Marius.
It's like harmony abounds, and so
it was like really like that love and peace era.
Yeah, it was
kind of like
a
culminating.
time where everyone was trying to get along.
Okay.
They actually were trying to get along, and we didn't.
You never hear that talked about.
Yeah.
You always hear about, the other side of stuff.
Yeah, but it was a good year. We had a good year. I mean, we kind of got along pretty well together.
Most people are good. I think. That is a beautiful
it was
thing.
amazing because the city was definitely integrated, and it was really a lot of racial tension in Cambridge growing up. But that particular year was good. Mm-hmm. We all came together. We made the best of it, and it was a good year. Nice. We had the dances, one dance, one prom. Like I see now these different proms. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's my freshman year prom.
To have two proms?
It's my 10th grade prom.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of those.
Really?
One for every year. Yeah, it's crazy.
No, we had one prom, one Christmas dance, and integrated. So this was in the 70s, so like, I don't understand this double stuff now.
So until your senior year of high school, you were in segregated schools.
Yes.
And then...
Well, what they didn't call it segregated. It was freedom of choice.
It's almost like now, like with charter schools.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice. So if
we should be able to choose where we send our children.
So if you wanted to go to the white high school, you could. And if you chose to go to the black school, you could.
Right. So
it was your choice, your family's choice. So my mother says, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to stay at the black school with all my friends, of course. So until we had to, that's when we went.
Oh, so there was a period where it was like choice.
Yes.
And then it was like, all right, y'all, just come on.
Yeah, and then the feds came in and said, okay, no more. You get one school.
So the federal government had to come in and make the change.
Freedom of choice was not legal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was not legal.
Because it's like that is really interesting because that applies directly to the times we live in.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Freedom of choice.
Yeah, freedom of choice.
Now, I think that's interesting because of where you end up going to school to college.
Yeah,
or
went
whatever.
to Maryland, yeah.
Yeah, where is it again?
To Maryland, University of Maryland, College Park.
The University of Maryland. It's a big name.
Yeah.
College Park.
It's a big school.
You went to College Park too?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
This is just like... this is like a little gang over here.
That's
Y'all
right.
just got it on lock.
Turk power.
For those listeners, I just got a fist balled up. And she had a turtle ring on, a Terp ring.
It was, and that came about because on the Eastern Shore, one of the things that we do is play basketball. We're pretty good. So we would and the state championship was always at College Park.
Oh, okay.
At Cole Fieldhouse was where all of the state championships, we would always go. And I'm like, I like this school. And that's how I first was introduced, because we didn't have Upward Bound to take you on college visits to see schools. And so I thought, I like this school. And half my class was coming to, my two schools that I liked were Morgan, College Park, and Frostburg were my three choices when I applied to schools. So half my class was coming to Morgan, so I'm like, that's just going to be like high school. So I
X Morgan off the list.
I X Morgan off the list because it's like, that's just
too many of us. I know everybody already.
Too many of my high school friends are coming. I'm like, I need to stretch myself. And I wanted to be able to just meet people. I'm my only child, so like I've always had to be by myself, and I'm always outgoing, make myself to be more outgoing because I'm kind of introverted.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Introverted.
Just a little bit introverted. So I said, this will push me to make new friends because no one that I knew of was going to College Park for me.
Yeah.
So
no safety
I would
net.
have to force myself to make friends and just put myself in a different position.
Wow.
Coming from a small town and in this big school.
Yeah, like I said, that's a big shift. So, what's the population like on the Eastern Shore in the town where you're from?
it's a pretty big black population there. But everything was segregated. But I knew everybody because I'd grown up there,
Right.
and everybody either knew me or knew my family. So
See, I think it's odd, like, because the time at which you're going to University of Maryland, like, for those who don't know, University of Maryland is a predominantly white institution,
Right.
and your other choice, Morgan State, is a predominantly black institution, historically black college.
In
so-
Baltimore.
Yeah, in Baltimore. So I'm really wondering, what were you looking for? I mean, I guess you said those were the only colleges you had seen.
Yeah, well, those are the only ones I knew about. And at Eastern Shore, which is Maryland State, which is on the Eastern Shore, it was just way too close to home.
Did you care about the racial demographics? You know, especially like I said with the time, it's 70.
With the integration of the schools my senior year, I'm like, this is easy.
They made it easy.
Yeah, it was. It was like, oh, I can do this. You know,
It's
the
not
thought
that hard
of
being
my
around
parents,
white people. What is
my
going on?
mom and my stepfather were. Really,
They don't have horns. What's happening?
Exactly. We're really
It's not to see each other.
concerned about me choosing Maryland, and they kept saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I think they were more terrified than I was.
I can imagine.
About the choice of Maryland.
Oh,
So
man.
they kept saying, "Are you sure?" You know, they had X. My second choice, and I didn't say this, was Howard, and my stepfather had gone to Howard, and he said no, because
Shade.
yeah, because he said it was in an awful neighborhood and it was an open campus. And he said
HBCUs
no.
are always in a black neighborhood. You want to find a black neighborhood,
he
find a
said,
HBCU.
No, it's too open. And back in the 70s, 7th Street and U Street, all of those streets around Howard were not the best.
It's pretty
Because even
loud.
as a student at Maryland going into D.C., it was not the best.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a...
Your dad was like,
No, not my little girl.
Okay.
You're not
Okay.
ready for prime
I ain't gonna
time.
be there with you. You gotta go
You're
somewhere.
not
I
ready
know.
for that at all.
But were colleges already highly integrated at that time, or what was the situation like
Okay.
in Maryland?
At Maryland, the class of
And did they have to be
74,
forced?
which is our class,
Uh-huh.
that came in 70, was the largest group of black students to come in. There
Mm-hmm.
were black students there, but I think in 1970 with my class was the largest increase of minority. By that time, there were probably maybe 4,000 of us
Mhm.
in the entire school, with a population at that time about 28,000 students.
Even back then? Wow.
Yeah,
I know
it
it
was
that big
huge.
then.
It was still huge. You know, my first year, my first 3 or 4 classes had like 300-400 kids in them.
Ugh.
Those are intro classes, and they had like 300-400 kids in them. Some of them had even more. Like I remember one had like 600 kids in one of the classes.
Mhm. Great for an introvert. Right? You just go in there
Yeah,
and
which
just-
is, you can just get
not
lost
talk to
in the
anyone.
sauce. No one knows who you are, which is great for me. It's like nobody knows who I am. That's awesome.
That's
I
what
like
you
that.
wanted.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Man. So what is it that you chose to study while you was there?
This is interesting. When I wrote my letter to the admissions office to get a book to look at. So the subject that I hated least in high school was foreign language. So
Hold
I
on.
went through
You hated least, so that means it's your favorite?
No.
What does that mean? I hated it the least?
The subject that I hated the most, I'm sorry.
Okay, there we
The
go.
most, yes, I'm
I was like,
sorry,
something that
was
died
foreign
right now.
language. You know, I had 3 years of French.
Mm.
And I hated French. And I'm like, okay, go through the catalog and find out the major that does not have a foreign language.
Are you serious?
I did that. I'm serious. I did that.
I'm going to pick my major based on who says I don't need to know
looked
French.
through that catalog and I said, oh, School of Business, marketing,
You had to get specific to avoid the foreign language.
because
Wow.
there are some majors in the School of Business at that time that had the foreign language, because it was the School of Public and what was it? public administration, I think, or something like that. And so I went through the entire business school because that was it. I narrowed it down to the business school. You didn't have to have them, which is funny because now international business, and it's a plus to have the foreign language.
That's all I was
but back
thinking.
in the 70s, it was not global economy and all of this stuff.
Right, you would have been ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Negotiating deals in Paris.
So I picked the marketing major thinking that eventually I'd go to law school and be a corporate lawyer because that was the goal.
Nice.
That was the goal as a freshman, as a high school senior going into college and going to college. So I picked the marketing.
Why law? Why law? Like,
because it was money. It's all about making money.
so people would just go somewhere, get some money, girl.
It wasn't that I loved any of this stuff. It was like, what could I make a lot of money doing? Being a lawyer and being in business.
Makes sense.
So those were the two marriages there. Okay, that lasted all of. Well, I stayed because I'm stubborn. Stayed in the business school because I didn't want. Because it was a thing about it. Maryland, black kids didn't stay in the business school.
Okay.
Because it was one of the most difficult departments on campus, other than the sciences. It was one of
You just wanted to prove a point.
The dropout major for engineering, the white males, the engineering school, which was at that time white males, was the business school. If you couldn't make it in the engineering school, the next best thing was to come into the business school. So it was one of the hardest departments. So I didn't want to drop out. But everyone that I met started in the business school at Maryland and didn't finish. And I'm like, I'm going to finish this department because that's just my thing in my back of my head. And I like to say uncle.
Nothing wrong with that. You're a fighter.
So I stayed, even though I could care less about any of this stuff. And I did fairly well in the major. You get to know the same people because after a while, even though you had the 300 to begin with, you get a circle of about 50 people and you go through and they're in most of your classes, especially if you're majoring in the same thing.
Right.
So you get to know everyone. So I finished the department, but my last semester on campus, trying to boost their GPA up like everybody does, and I took a couple of education courses, and which is funny.
It is,
because as a child, what I used to play at was being a teacher. And I think that is so funny because I took this education course and I loved it, but I'm like graduating. And I'm like, I'm not starting over.
As I'm doing these interviews, it's a lot of teachers who used to play and pretend to be teachers and used to.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. It was weird.
I think it was because the teachers dressed up to go to work.
Right.
And you dress up.
It was a different
playing
time.
As a child, you dress up. You put your mom's good clothes on and you dress up being a teacher. Yeah. And that's how that started. And the last class I took was Dr. Swain was the instructor. Mm-hmm. And it was an audio-visual class, and we had to go out and do videos. Mm-hmm. We did one in the zoo, National Zoo, and I'm trying to think what music it was we used and we shot kids playing in playgrounds and in the zoo. It was so much fun. We had a great time just doing this. It was a group project. And I loved the course so much. I thought, oh my God, this is what I really want to do.
As a senior?
As a senior.
Jeez Louise. So. Were you paying all this, or did you have, what was your situation with the financial aid?
Only children back in the 70s, they thought you could pay for your education. So I had loans.
Oh, no. So you're paying to be there on top of it.
National Defense loans. I think it was $1,000 a year you could borrow. So I borrowed $4,000 4 years.
Wow.
So when I came out, I owed $4,000.
That's for a business degree. University of Maryland.
University of Maryland. Room and board. First semester was $700. $700 the tuition.
Your entire cost would get you like a class,
the entire
and a meal
bill
card.
was $1,400 a year.
for a semester? Not even what would that get you now?
Nothing.
That couldn't get you in for a semester.
Maybe one class.
One
Yeah,
a swimming
one class. Yeah,
that's it.
$1,400 for the entire year was and that's room and board living on campus.
Wow. Wow.
$1,400 for the year. Yeah.
Now I know with Upward Bound, a big part of your job is there's a summer program where the children stay on campus and you have to pay for the room and board and do those types of things.
And it's more than that.
Yeah, I was about to say, how is the cost? How have costs changed in your eyes between?
Skyrocketed since I was an undergrad. It just amazes me how much kids owe by the time they get out of school compared to my $4,000.
Yeah.
That took me probably like 6 months to pay back. When I started working.
Right. This is why we got to support Hillary.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to get some type of get college cheaper.
As I'm not a Bernie fan, I agree that college needs to be free.
Right, or cheap.
Or cheaper, definitely
Something.
cheaper. Somebody needs to pay. Children should not have to come out owing $20,000.
That's very tame.
Yeah, that's a tame
You said 20.
amount.
I was like,
if they go to any professional school, it's hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
By the time they finish, so and a lot of people don't get a chance to go on because they just can't afford it.
Yeah.
Can't afford it, but yeah.
Now, I also know. Hold on. As a child or whatever, do you have any teachers in particular from like elementary school, or you probably only had one in elementary school?
Well, I did have a few others. Well,
did you have anybody?
First 3 years I had one, and then fourth grade I had a Miss Whitney. I can't believe I remember these teachers' name. Fifth grade was Miss Brown, and the first male teacher.
It's funny to look on your face, like being amazed, like I know this name, Miss Brown.
Mr.
Oh my
Batson was my first male teacher that I had in
Batson.
Mr. Batson.
Shout out,
and
Miss
it was funny because when I went back to school to become a teacher, he was the principal at my cooperating teacher school. Which was funny because he was saying, I taught you. And I'm like, I know you taught me. So it was pretty cool to go to student teach at his school.
That's something.
Back then. So that was kind of cool.
I didn't know that you actually taught.
Yeah, I did for 5 years.
Okay, so when and where was that?
Okay, that was on the Eastern Shore in Wicomico County, which is the next county over. And I taught in a little rural community called Mardello Springs. And I taught pre-K. It was one of the pilot programs that the state of Maryland came up with. Pre-K back in '77.
I just met a guy from, I could have sworn he said he was from, this is really random. Very random.
Springs?
Yeah, his name was Wavy.
Okay.
His name was Wavy. It's somewhere around that way.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking that doesn't even sound like a real place.
So I taught...
Mardello Springs.
It was a combined year because they started the kids when they were 3, and the first year they were.
So this is like pre-K before pre-K was a thing.
Yeah, so and they kept them all day, which was crazy because all they did in the afternoon was sleep because you taught them in the morning. By the time you got to after lunch, they were like zonked out for the rest of the day.
That's awesome.
But they were there all day. So I taught there for 4 years, Mardello Spring, and then they closed the program down. The pre-K program closed down, and they scattered us to different grades. So I taught first grade, and that's when I left teaching because I hated first grade. I was like, no, this is not fun.
What was the shift?
Kindergarten and pre-K was fun. I enjoyed teaching.
You have
you have
a
freedom.
Kindergarten vibe. Like I can see you as the excited teacher. Like, hey guys.
Yeah.
And they're listening like, yay.
Yeah. In first grade, you have to teach them how to read, and everything is set in stone. And I'm like, oh, I hate this. This is way too rigid for me.
Yeah. That'll do it. Did you see yourself? One of the other questions I always kind of like to close with, try and end with. Is kind of like around the ideas of goals. So as a kid, How did you see yourself changing the world?
Oh, God. I don't know if I ever thought I could change the world. I don't know. That's a good question. But I really don't think I ever thought as a person that I could change the world.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So what did you see yourself as, or your place in it all?
Ooh. Just doing something to help somebody, just helping someone be better. I always saw that when I started out, it was more relatives, helping a relative, not thinking about something like Upward Bound
the
or
community,
anything. The community,
whatever,
it was more like helping another relative do better, or helping like a cousin or someone that might not have the same opportunities that I had, but just to get the thought of going to college, doing something other than being in that community.
So that's kind of where you are now, as far as like, how do you see yourself influencing the world right now?
Oh my God, with the kids, helping them to see how great they can be, because they're all diamonds. They just don't know it. Because you see them and how great they can be, how much better they can be.
Just need a little bit of pressure.
Just a little bit of push.
They're pieces of coal.
Yeah.
You apply the pressure. I'm not saying coal because most of the children are black.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Just apply that pressure, and now I'm seeing it from some of the people we have here that work in the program, our former Upward Bound students.
And just even the students that we meet here on the campus that work with our kids. You just see them and helping them to just get through this maze, this college thing that's out here. 'Cause sometimes it's rough, even for those of us that do it every day. They have a lot to face. They do. A lot, and it's expensive.
It is, and they're very fortunate to have an advocate such as yourself.
Thank you, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
out here kicking ass and taking names.
Trying.
Is there anything that you'd like to plug or call attention to in regards to like the federal trio programs, Upward Bound, or anything you might have?
Find one. If you're anywhere, it's a good program. Make sure your students get involved. It's great. It'll take them to heights that you can only imagine.
Other federal trio programs like Upward Bound, was it James Farmer Scholar?
The McNair Scholar. That's for students that are already in college that want to go on to professional school. That's a great vehicle for students that want to go on. It helps them with all.
So it's like an Upward Bound for college students.
Yeah, it's like an Upward Bound for college students. Yeah.
Nice.
They shadow professionals that teach them how to get into doctoral programs, and it's a great program.
And you said it's called the McNair?
Ronald E. McNair, who was one of the astronauts in the Challenger.
They had that at Mary Washington, I think.
There's plenty of them.
I would be there for Upward Bound. I remember seeing them and the James Farmer kids and something. Yeah.
So that's one of the programs. And there's student support services. Also,
I was in that.
That was for college freshmen and sophomores to get them over that hump. Because research shows that if they go 2 years, then are successful after that second year, then they're going to complete. That's to get them over the hump. That's the student support services.
That's great. Yeah. I love that everything you do is definitely making stuff better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because you're changing kids' lives.
Yep.
And I love you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for giving me some time.
You're welcome.
All right.
Pleasure.
Like I said, I've been in here all summer and I see you very rarely.
Yeah.
So I really was looking forward to this.
Oh, good. Thank you. I appreciate it. This was fun.
I
walk down memory lane.
Yes. That's what it's all about. I find it when all of us sit down and we talk about our educational experience, we find a lot of who we've grown to be as adults in there.
Yeah, that's true.
In our experiences. So,
that's what I was saying. I'm like, kids should not go through the catalog and find out what department doesn't have a class that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
flag?
If one of them
That's
kids
not-
came in there and
that's
did
not-
that, you would smack the taste out of their mouth. Be like, are you picking majors based on skipping French?
Yeah.
That's
Or
it.
foreign language.
Just any foreign language.
Any foreign language.
Completely.
And I did not take a foreign language as an undergraduate.
Oh man, that is
That
funny.
is hilarious. I know, because I tell people that they don't believe. I'm like, yes, I did do that.
And there's so much that can be taught from our personal experiences. So I hope you share that with them on the regular. 'Cause they'll be like, no, you didn't do that, mister. It'll sound silly when you say it,
I
and then
know.
they won't do it.
I know it does sound like no one would do that, but I
Nope.
actually did that.
Nope. Yeah, exactly.
I did go through that catalog, and I'm like, because I was thinking, oh, I would like that.
I'd like to be a doctor, but Spanish. Oh, I like to be
And it was
an
funny
engineer,
how I
but
actually
nope.
even got into education because I had no idea that there was a level lower than first grade
Okay, yeah.
until,
Oh, they didn't have that at all.
No, not when I was in school, so there was no. But I'm like, I can do that level.
You're
I
like, what,
love those little
kindergarten?
kids.
What's this?
I'm like, what can you do with them?
yeah. See, that,
Like, but you can do a lot with them because they're like empty vessels, and they just
and they're just thirsty.
suck it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
they just suck. It was like fun.
Yes, and you're organized too. You
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
did a good job
Yeah.
filling their heads up.
Oh yeah, I had a good time with them. They learned a lot. The parents were
Right.
like amazed. You did because I had them. We had my room was set up with 3 different areas, and they went around to the 3 different areas every day.
All right. Oh, any other shout outs for any teachers or people, college, high school, wherever?
Shout out to the Eastern Shore.
Eastern Shore.
Eastern Shore
Is there,
power.
that sounds very close to white power. I don't know why. When you say Eastern Shore
No,
power,
Eastern Shore,
I just think about
Cambridge.
crabs with their fist up.
Cambridge, Mason's Lane, Old High School.
Mason's Lane.
Yeah, they have an alumni association.
Okay.
And active.
I've been meaning to go out to the Eastern Shore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You need to go to the Eastern Shore.
Yeah, I've never had
It's
Zika.
beautiful out there.
I want to get out there. I want to get sick. I want to get bitten by something.
No. Well, right now you might get the Zika virus.
That's what I'm
'cause there's
saying. I
definitely
feel like if I go to
There's
Eastern Shore, I'm
definitely
gonna die.
mosquitoes out there.
Oh man. All right. Well, you can get back to work. I appreciate
Actually,
your
I'm
time.
going home.
That's what I need right
Because
there.
this is all I